Now in this video I wanted to share I think it's going to be useful information for a lot of people who may not be totally happy with the mirrors that are either on their bike or came with the bike. I've got a lot of mirrors and I've done a lot of experimenting to try to make all the bikes in my collection, the sport bikes and the others, to make them as safe as possible. And because I go on a lot of group rides, I always want to be able to see the person behind me. And it's critical, because if that person has a problem, it's really on the person in front to be aware of that. And if you have mirrors that all you see is your hip pocket or your ears, I guess it's not yet good. Anyway, I do like having a good set of mirrors on all my motorcycles. Now the subject of this video is going to be motorcycle mirrors. And in riding over 60 years, what I've learned works for me. Maybe it works for you, and that's a subjective thing. And some information about bar end mirrors, different mirror types, ones you can get from China very inexpensively, and factory mirrors. Ones that mount to the fairing, ones that mount to the handlebars. I'm going to try to include everything I know if I can squeeze it into one video. Now the reason is several people have asked me about the different mirrors. They look at the bike and they say, oh, why do you have that mirror? Why don't you have this type of mirror, or that mirror, or this mirror? It's a subjective thing. Every person is going to pick something that works for them. But if you don't know the choices, it's hard to pick. It's like not having a menu and you don't know what to order in a restaurant. Now for me, there's what I call the gold standard of mirrors. Here's the gold standard right here, 1982. I bought the bike new. The first thing I noticed, I went for a test ride around the block and I said, wow, I can see everything. I don't even see my elbows. Well, let's face the fact, that's not true of all modern bikes. Some of the bikes, the mirrors are designed closer together, and some of us have gotten a little wider. So this is a bad combination. But anyway, the point that I'm making is if you have a bike and you sit like this further up on the bike, or if you're like the layback guy, well, the mirrors are going to be a tricky thing to figure out. And to be honest, I have a milk crate full of mirrors, and I probably have at least 100 mirrors and all the accessories that go to them. And I thought for some people, especially new riders, they may not know all the choices, or they may say, well, that's a great choice. They put on some accessory mirror that you never know. And all of a sudden you're riding down the road and you can't see the guy behind you, or even worse, you can't see the friendly officer coming up behind you. Now my two big 1000cc sport bikes, I have mirrors where I can see behind me. It's more important if you don't have a Valentine radar detector, and I know this has happened to other people, they've told me. I won't even mention any names. You're laying down on a gas tank with your really cool little sport bike mirrors, you do not see Mr. Friendly behind you, and you go, wow, nobody's in front of me. You go through the gears, and that has happened to all of us. And back in the day when you didn't have radar detectors, wow, it happened a lot more. Now I tried recently to swap out the mirrors on the MT-09, but not without realizing it has a reverse thread. I've already ordered the adapter. The adapter is $4, and I'll show that on the video when we actually swap the mirrors out. Because I do have mirrors that are a little bit longer, and I think, see, here's what happens. If the mirror ends right here, even if you add a ½ inch, a lot of times you can see exponentially a lot more behind you. And if you like looking at your shoulders, if you have nice big Arnold Schwarzenegger shoulders, a lot of these mirrors will work great. Now I'll show this later. I had painted up even a set of custom mirrors, bar end mirrors. I spent money on real expensive mirrors. I bought cheap ones from China. I bought 3 different types. These that have an aerodynamic shape, some have a flat shape, some look like they belong on a bike like they're stock, some don't look like. And I want to go, I even have the real Yamaha mirror. But I wanted to go through this step by step. And I thought this is a good day to do it, since I'm going to be dealing with mirrors in the very near future. And I think most touring bikes, some touring bikes, have what I call these gold standard mirror. You look out the back, you can see everything that's behind you. That's the bottom line. Now I've made on video many times the mirror block-off plates, because mirrors that are mounted to the fairing usually don't give you a really good view. They're made to look cool or whatever. They don't fit on the clip-ons, whatever the reason is. But these aerodynamic mirrors that have this aerodynamic curve in the bottom, they seem to work real well as a replacement. If you can, obviously, and I'm going to show the little attachment you need to make, and it works even on clip-ons. That works fine. This bike I converted from fairing mirrors, which were, like, I'll always use a scale of 1 to 10. They were 5s. And these are 9s. And I purposely painted them. A lot of mine are painted. Some of them have trim on them. But all the ones that mount to the fairing, I'm not sure. And I've painted a lot for Luciano. I've painted many of them. And I've had it on video. And some of the times when Luciano and I have swapped bikes, I don't see anything. Now, what the problem with that is, if you're riding and the guy behind you has a problem or goes off into a ditch, you don't know it and you keep riding for 5 minutes and you turn around and you feel like a complete idiot. When I converted over the R1, and I'll show this up in detail, these little brackets are available for, I think, 10 bucks. They mount up the mirrors, and I know you can use these on clip-ons too, because I have used them. And they're really good, and then you can mount the mirror. Here's the advantage. When you want to, you can mount the mirror further out on the bars. If you have an issue with this, now I don't have an issue right now, you could actually mount that a little further out on the bar. Same thing with this when you're trying to reroute cables for putting custom bars on. These things are really handy, and I'll show them up in detail further on in the video. And all of the sport bikes that I've converted over to handlebars, and I've made these, I've got them on video many times. We'll just make a little block-off plate. I think you can even buy these inexpensively. But these little mirror adapters. And the mirrors that I've been using, the Chinese mirrors, I wouldn't say they're a 10. They're probably an 8. And about 1 out of 3, if you buy 3 sets, 1 set is going to have a flop-eared mirror, one of them. So I would say 1 out of 6. And then I have a cure for that, but it's not a pretty cure. And what I do, I get the mirror adjusted and then drip thin CA in here and lock this up so it really isn't, it's adjusted almost permanently. Not a good choice, but sometime I've done that, to be honest. Trying to pass on honest information that'll be useful, and I've done a lot of it, and I've learned some things the hard way, and I've been riding for a long time where I've made a lot of mistakes. See, the reason you think, how does he know this stuff? Well, you know what? If you're not looking behind you and you get enough tickets, you'll learn real quick. Now, just the other day, I was out on the FZR, had a beautiful ride, and looking in the mirrors, had good vision front and back. And one of the things that it reminded me of how bad the mirrors were that came with the bike. I'm going to show those mirrors up close. When you wonder I don't even know why they put them on the bike. Now, I always run into something that's funny. You're talking to somebody, or mentioning something, they go, "Oh, you're exaggerating. You don't have that many mirrors." And then you show them the bucket of mirrors. And this is not all of them either. There's more. But this is the ones I'm going to try to demo and show why they're in that bucket and not on a motorcycle. So let me share what I did with the RD first, since that's the oldest motorcycle. When I got the bike to restore it, it didn't have any mirrors, so this was an easy decision. And what I decided to do, I said, oh boy, all the cafe guys, they got these cool little bar end mirrors, and they're very cool. And up to a point, I could see out of them, but I didn't have the stock mirrors, so I didn't have any way to compare it. But these were inexpensive. I think they were under $20 for a set. And the only problem was, every once in a while when you're going really fast, want to do a rabbit ear, just flop down or move, or constantly adjusting them. What was bad in these, the gimbal was bad. There's a spring in there that keeps it. And now, Joe Roselli has a pair of the expensive ones. They don't do that. But of course, the inexpensive ones from China, some do and some don't. That's the only fair way to say it. So this is where the whole thing started for trying to find some custom mirrors. And I saw these on, I don't know, some website. I thought, oh, these will be better. They had a bigger piece of glass, which these actually were a little better. And they sat up above the bar. So you had a little bit of, it was easier to see. Now, I've seen some people turn this upside down, and that works for them. I guess if you're laying down on a gas tank differently. But I tend to want to be in a comfortable riding position. And when I was comfortable, and these were adjusted, again, we use that 1 to 10. These were probably a 5. But I was always looking for something better. So I wound up buying these, and these were pretty expensive, if I remember right. These were not cheap. And when I bought them and ordered them, I didn't realize one of the things I didn't like about them is it wasn't in keeping with the bike to have big chrome mirrors on the end of the bars. I thought black would be better. These were better in the fact that if you look here, you can see how much further out. You see here's where it's mounting, and you've got more glass sticking out. That was definitely an upgrade. But what would happen is every time I do this, it was like an evolutionary Darwinism thing. It got better, one little bit at a time. And I did try this. I only had one of these, and I wanted to see just if the view, because I wanted this is the end of the handlebar, I wanted it to be further out, and that would have solved the problem. I wanted it to be higher and further out to suit. Just to suit my needs. Now, it may not suit your needs. Maybe you want the mirrors, in close. You want them in close, or in this case, you could reverse it so the big part was on the inside. But again, this was an evolutionary thing that started with the RD. The GS always had good mirrors, but the RD not so much. And so I really went through a lot of mirrors before I found what I really wanted for the GS. For both, I should have just bought GS mirrors, but they're not available. Now, I bought another one of these little sets of mirrors, and I said, I ought to paint them shiny black. I'll like that a lot more. But I still had this issue, and the issue was pretty simple. Every once in a while, you'd be riding at really high speed, and I think the gimbal was not strong enough. And I said, I've fallen for this trick so many times. I ought to just go buy the $150 mirrors. But, I'm not prone to do that, of course. And then the final set of bar end mirrors that I used, and these were another set that was similar to the other ones, but you know what happened? I'm sure they're the same mirror, but another company was selling them. You could order them, and one company would be company X, then you'd look down on Amazon, and it would be company Y, and they were all the same mirror, I think. But for some reason, these had good gimbals. These were really stiff. I don't know if they put a stiffer spring in them, but I had a whole box of these now. These were the best, and so I decided to custom paint them to match the bike, and I was very happy. Probably for a couple of years I rode around with these, and then when I changed the handlebars, I wanted to have real mirrors. So now for me, this is only one bike in my collection, and I have already spent a lot of time and energy and whatever, and I thought, well, and a lot of money too. You know what? But I've learned a lot, and I learned these didn't work for me the way I wanted. They work for other people. I've seen people that are thrilled with these, and different riding styles, well, it's a very subjective, personal thing. Now, I'm not sure about the exact time window, it was many years ago, of course, but when I bought the FCR, it had these terrible, I think I've thrown them away, these little mirrors that were pretty much hooked to the fairing. You couldn't see anything. I decided these are fairing mount mirrors now. These are fairing mount. Now we're going to go through the fairing mount episode, basically with the FCR. This is an FCR issue. So the first thing I thought, this will be really cool. And like a Ducati or some of the high-end bikes, these had blinkers in them, and the blinkers were pretty bright. These were inexpensive. I think they were in the $20 range. I said, why? I put these on the FCR, and boy, I was thrilled. Yeah, it was a little bit back. The original mirrors were a 0. These were a 5. I said, you could see, basically this is how big the mirror was. And I tried putting these little spot mirrors on and all this other stuff. And now what happened, right about this time, I had joined the New Jersey Sport Bike Club, where they went on these big 50 bike rides and stuff, and I would always be the guy in the back with the video camera. This is back when nobody had a phone or a video camera. So I would be the only one with a video camera on the ride. That's, by the way, how I met Chris. And we linked up for some pseudo riding lessons at the time, and that was very helpful for her. She went on to become a track day rider. So, and she already had an R6, so it was easy peasy. So, but this is about mirrors. So what happened with this? These were really decent, and for a while I was kind of happy. But if you look real close, you'll see what I had to do. I had to put black tape around the gimbal. What would happen, once they're about a month old, the gimbal from vibration starts to wear out, and then you'd lose the adjustment. You'd riding along, and you go through the gears, and at top speed, it'd do that. Just when you want to see the most. It's exactly at the wrong time the parachute didn't open. And then what happened is I came close to getting a ticket one day, and I was by the reservoir in past Oakland, And the cop that stopped me thought it was a real Ferrari bike. It was pretty funny. But that's another story for another video. But I went home and I was unhappy with this mirror, and I said, you know what, I just need to get something better. And one of the things made this an easy decision. One day I was putting the FZR, backing it into the garage, and didn't have it lined up with the door right. This hit the door and broke. So I said, oh, now I got a good excuse to go buy some better quality mirrors. Now, I don't remember exactly the date. It really isn't important. At somewhere around this time, I got the 750 Ninja, which came with these beautiful mirrors that they were absolutely useless. And to me, anyway. And because the bike at the time had very far forward handlebars, you had to lay down. These you really didn't see much. I got to see about, realistically, about this much of the mirror, and the rest of it was me. And you know what? I was really, really disappointed, but I was just recovering from the FZR episode. I had the FZR first, was all disappointed, bought a bunch of mirrors. None of them suited my needs. I really was getting frustrated. So the next part of this evolution, and you'll notice, these are sharp cornered. They're I call them the 4 flat side mirrors. They mount to the fairing. They are definitely better than the ones that come with the bike. The ones that come with the bike were, I think, 0s. These are probably 5s or 6s. And the reason is they stick out. They're a little bit higher and wider. And that's what, when you want to see something, that's what you need. So this was the next step. I bought a bunch of these, started retrofitting them to the bikes. I even made camera mounts for them. And to a point, I had these on the R1. I had them on the FZR. And they were close. I say always close, but no cigar. They were probably a 5. So if you assume this is the mounting point on the fairing and they all mount with bolts, that's where you have to make the block off plates. Look how much further out you can see. Well, this was a find. The best ones, and I bought a lot of these aftermarket ones, but they did make ones that were about an inch longer than the ones I bought the first time. So now I went crazy. I start retrofitting everything with the longer mirrors. Again, better. Not a solution, totally a solution, but definitely better than this. If this is a 0 or a 1, this was now a 7. So we were getting better and better, and you know, my bank account was getting low here. And the last gasp of breath, I found these mirrors. They were a little bit wider. Now what's different is the glass was longer. The stem was pretty much the same, and they were fully adjustable, which made it really nice. And a nice big piece of glass there, almost like a GS. But again, it got to be an 8, but I wanted a 10. So if you look down the evolutionary process of fairing mounted mirrors, this is what I learned over many years, and they actually kept getting better and better, but still, none were a 10. And that's the real problem. So then I stumbled on what I thought was a solution at the time. Luciano gave me a set of real Yamaha mirrors, and they've got the Yamaha logo on them and everything. I'm not sure if these are the correct ones for the bike, but then I never had considered the best possibility, since the Yamaha already has the little threaded part in the on the controls. I thought, well, let me give them a try, and how bad can it be? Well, here's a problem. I put them on, and because of the way these adjust, this is not a gimbal, it's this. And it was really inconvenient trying to get them. You had to loosen this to get this adjustment, because you only had, on these old-fashioned mirrors, there's only one adjustment. Then it's not a gimbal, it's like a back and forth. And I went out with the wrench, and I said, just too inconvenient. Even though it's authentic to the bike, I want something better. But it made me aware of, once I rode with these, what the heck am I doing with all this other stuff? I want to have mirrors that mount to the handlebars, and that's what works for me. Well, I saw a set of mirrors that looked pretty much like GS mirrors, and I thought, well, it seemed like they were bigger. And again, these took it from being like a 6 or a 7 to an 8. These were definitely better. The glass was bigger, and it stuck out further, and it was a little bit higher. All things I was looking for. But I still, I'm always, that's the problem in life. With my life, I'm always looking for something better. And so the final outcome was to have these that bolt to the handlebars, and these were the original ones. They're square now. There's no aerodynamic shape for them. These, again, brought it up one notch, and I liked them. I didn't like that they were flat black. I wound up painting all of them. I have all those videos of painting mirrors. But and these were a 9. And it took me a long time to get the last piece of the puzzle, but I finally got it. So when I bought the first set of these, and again, all of these are from China, this has an aerodynamic shape. This is one of the spare ones that I had. That shape and the gimbal that came with it, the gimbal was nice and solid. So I was real happy with that. And I wound up buying a few sets of these. These are the ones that are on the bike right now. And my final thing is, what I'm going to do, I want to put these on the MT-09 as one of the next steps, but I don't have adapters. And I'll show what the adapters look like and where you can get them from. So all the things that I'm showing and have happened over a period of 10 or 12 years. I'm trying to condense it down. I always have a bucket, mirror hardware. And if I'm going to show some of these little things that work, they work well. I've had no problem with these. And what happened is when I had the MT-09 mirror, the only fitting I didn't have, I needed to have a 17, it's not 17, whatever size this is, 10, I'm sorry. I have 8s, but I don't have 10s. I needed to have a 10 that's a reverse thread to adapt the mirror that comes from the MT-09 if I want to use it on another bike. I also need the one that mounts regular threads on top and reverse threads on the bottom. I ordered both of them already they're available from Amazon. It's not a big deal to order them. I'll try to show that link very soon. But to have these, this is the part that I have found super useful, and I know it works on clip-ons. I use it on regular handlebars all the time. And this is a very handy thing. It has a mirror thread and 2 bolts that you can bolt it anywhere out. Of course, sometimes you have to move something around, but this allows you a lot of flexibility in mounting up mirrors that are unique to the bike, and you can mount it backwards so the mirror's further back, forward. You got a lot of choices. These, I believe, are about 10 bucks. I'm not sure. So if you type in motorcycle mirror adapters, you'll see they make every possible kind of thing. These are the little things that I've used. They're $7.98, I guess. They have all different adapters to adapt different mirrors to different handlebars. These are the things that I ordered with the reverse thread. But again, and I got mine from Amazon, but they're available from many other places. And these are the ones you need. This is from Amazon. You need these for an MT-09. They're 10s. You don't need 8s. You need 10s. They make them both ways. You got to look up and make sure you order that it's 10 one way and 10 on the bottom, and you'll have a perfect set. They also sell adapters that go from 8 to 10 if you want to put 8mm the mirrors, which have the thinner stalks. But I've got all 10s. Now, just to mention, some of the mirrors are available. They give you these brackets with the mirrors, and they give you the adapters. And as I'm looking through this, 15 bucks, that's probably a pretty good deal for a set of mirrors, the adapters, and the handlebar clamps. That's pretty reasonable. Just be aware, and I've fallen for this trick before from Amazon, that when you order these, and if you order the ones that I ordered, the next day you get an email. Usually it says it'll be shipped in 2 months from China. And then it arrives at your door 3 days later. So I don't know. But that's what you need. And that's what we're going to need before we do the MT-09. So as you can imagine, I have a slew of hardware. And I have every possible nut and adapter except 10 to 10. And I guess that's par for the course. So for me, the evolution of trying to find mirrors that I was real happy with ended for me with the mirrors that I'm going to be putting on the MT-09. As soon as I get the adapters, I'm going to spend a dedicated day rebuffing them out so they're perfectly smooth and shiny. And that'll be one more little step of our MT-09, the little project we're doing. One more final little good idea. If you ever have extra little mirror parts, or you have multiple bikes like I do, and you want to save every possible adapter and bolt and everything, the reason is a lot of times and in my case, what happened is you scratch one, you break one or whatever. And in my case, I don't want to have to wait to get another bracket or one of these. Or you strip it, you tighten the bolts too tight. And by the way, I would Loctite these if I put them on. These are aluminum. So, and having these extra things means I've used the other ones. Now, it may be I just have forgotten, but they give you plenty of these adapters. I like to keep everything that I have all my mirror parts. I have a milk crate full of mirrors and a little bucket full of adapters. And what this is allowing me to do, and it happened with a couple other people over the years, they would, hey, let me try those mirrors on my bike. And yeah, sure, we got all the adapters, we got everything. Before you go out and buy something, and then you're only going to want to buy the next best set. But quoting Joe Roselli did the smartest thing. He went out and bought the expensive bar-end mirrors when he got the Augusta right away. And I remember he had a set that was very, very cheap. When he bought the good ones, he's still got them. And I guess that's part of the lesson we all learn. I hope this information that I've shared with my adventures with motorcycle mirrors, and I have spent a lot of money to learn the things I've tried to share on this video, but I've learned them the hard way, and that's usually the way you learn it the best. There's a difference between going to school and some college professor shows you how, if you put your hand in a car door, what'll happen? They show you a video. And then there's a real thing, you slam your hand in a car door. Well, I have slammed my hand in a car door enough to know. But anyway, these mirrors and all of the adventures I've had with all the bikes I own, just that knowledge, I've tried to put it all in one video, give you some food for thought, and always keep in mind, it's all personal. What works for you is not going to work for me. And it's not only the mirrors that you have to look at. Some people don't care. But when you're younger, you don't care. As you get older, the mirrors get longer and longer. That's for sure. The clip-ons get further and further upright. It's a funny thing about age. It's called evolution, Darwinism, whatever it's called. I don't know. But I know it works. It's happening to me. So anyway, that's the mirror video. I hope there's some good information. If you think you've learned something from it, that's great. And if you haven't, I hope you've been entertained. And go have an extra cup of coffee on me. Now, several people have told me how much they enjoyed it. At the end of the videos, I put some nostalgic pictures of the A-Team or some of the adventures we've all shared or whatever. And since we have a little time today to research out the library, keep in mind, my computer has literally thousands of these videos and probably multiple thousand pictures. And I do enjoy sharing them. They are really some great memories of the life we've shared. This is a really good set of pictures that I keep on my computer of a day that did not end well for one of the people that went on a ride. And I think the people that were on this ride and other people in the A-Team will recognize right away that what we did, as we always did, we started out the day meeting up at Choppers, and we had some new riders with us. Now, I think these were friends of Glenn, but I'm not sure. It was a father and his son. Glenn had just gotten one of his first Ducatis, the sport bike, the 1098. Joe had his Augusta, the Brutale. And we had a bunch of people just coming in at the last minute. I believe Bob Navola was one of them. Now, the thing with nostalgic pictures is sometimes it stirs up a memory that you forgot. You forgot how much fun you had years ago. Now, this is the orange bike, I think belonged to the dad in this group. And that was his bike. And I think his son, but I don't remember his name. Now, this is many years ago. But I always like to take the pictures. This is up on Perkins. We had all ridden up to Perkins. And Glenn had, of course, the black Ducati. And just turned out to be a beautiful day. I had the R1. And when you look back at these pictures, it looks like Bob Navola's bike. Maybe I'm wrong. I have to look a little closer. But we always have people that we enjoyed interacting with. There's always the Harley guys, the guys with the three-wheelers. Always some guys with hot cars. Perkins, at this point in time, before the pandemic, was a wonderful place to hang out. And we had some guys that had R1s and just an eclectic group of people. And what always makes it fun, looking at these old videos, you see things you forgot. Now, I always forget some of the fun I've had, even on Perkins, because in the last couple of years, I have not bothered to go back to Perkins because of the pandemic. It's been shut sometime, and it's been so overcrowded with tourists the other time. I try to avoid the park altogether. But I'm looking back now. I know other people. I know Joe Roselli enjoys looking at these pictures. And there's Joe, by the way. And I'm looking back, and I'm seeing other people that I haven't seen in a long time. I think this is Glenn's friend that he brought on a ride. Again, my memory might be a little faded, but 90% of it's good. I'm about On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm a 9, maybe. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Then we went up to Hawk's Nest, right along the Hudson. And there's the R1 back in its with its black wheels and Ferrari paintwork and the seat I made and all of the stuff. And we posed for a couple of pictures. And because this thing is about mirrors, I want to mention something. When we go on these rides, the protocol was always the guy in front of the ride, that was Glenn, should always see the guy in second. And if he doesn't see him, slow down a little. The guy in second should see the guy in third. If not, you slow down a little. And that would keep everybody kind of in a train of that everybody could see or maintain the same speed. Now, the unfortunate thing, if I remember this right, and maybe I don't, maybe this is just wrong. Oh, this is a great picture. Maybe we'll edit that one. Nah, we're not editing anything out. There was a couch up here at one time. Somebody put a couch up there. Now, and look at this. Look at it. You just memories within memories within memories. And look at, I just can't imagine that we could have had a better, I call this my childhood. I think this is the guy's dad. And I don't remember his name. I think the kid's name was Danny. And we'll get into his story a little later. But Danny was a relatively new rider when we went on this ride. And which can happen. And we were trying to keep the protocol up of Glenn would always get to see the guy in second place. He would get to see the guy in third place. Mirrors playing a big part of that. If you have mirrors you can't really see out of, I don't know how good that protocol works. And not everybody agrees with that protocol. Some people ride. I've ridden with people that just take off like a jet plane and leave the newer riders behind. And then you worry, and you wonder how politically correct is that? I don't know. But anyway, and I think we did, and I can't remember for sure. I think we all went for ice cream. Now, when we would go on these rides, it was pretty impromptu what happened. You just pick up people along the way and meet people up at Perkins, and I'd always shoot a lot of pictures because I knew someday these pictures would be priceless, and today is the day. Today, these pictures made my day complete, seeing some of the memories that we have had over the years that have just been, they're priceless. I don't know, and I always wonder if people ride motorcycles and they don't have friends like this. You just go for a ride all by yourself in the middle of Oklahoma. I don't know. But anyway, what had happened, we had an unfortunate crash. Danny wound up, the new rider with us, wound up in a ditch. And of course, we had some company. And we tried to get somebody to come pick us up with the tow truck. Nobody that had a tow truck was available, but this fella knew somebody who came from very far away. Came with a tow truck. There's Danny's bike. And he didn't get hurt bad, but I wound up giving him my set of extra boots. He broke the clip-on. And I remember back at my shop, I fixed the clip-on for him with carbon fiber, and he was amazed. The R1 and with its Ferrari paintwork. And this is the kind of an adventure, Glenn's Ducati. When we had the A-Team in full force, it was just every weekend was an adventure like this. Now, unfortunately, the crash it ended the day on a sour note, but that's what happens when you ride motorcycles. And it's so important to me when you ride with people of different skill levels to keep that mirror etiquette in place and not take off and go at a speed that somebody that's not a seasoned rider gets hurt. Now, notice Danny's wearing shoes, wearing sneakers. I gave him my set of boots, by the way. I wound up fixing his bike, and we just put it sideways in a pickup truck, and that was a sad thing. Somebody came with the pickup truck, and as sad of a day as this ended, I think a lot of people learned a good lesson from it, and Danny got a free pair of boots, and I don't know. To me, it's sad when anybody crashes, but it's always good if they do learn something from it that you can put in a bank. And I think everybody that was on this ride, we learned a little bit more about riding as a group, mirror etiquette, not letting the guy behind you get too far out of view, and don't get old. Who's that guy? Oh my God. Now look at those mirrors on the R1. What does that tell you? And a link to order an MT09 t-shirt if you're so inclined to add to your collection is in the comments. So that's basically our adventure for today, and I hope some of the mirror information is valuable, and there's always something to learn. I always think there's nobody on the planet that I couldn't learn something from if I spend enough time with them. And I hope that I'm able to help other people have an understanding of some basic things about how to set up a motorcycle, maybe how to ride a little safer, maybe have mirrors you can look out and see, or do some custom painting, or in some other way make your life a lot more fun, or make the sport of motorcycling a lot more fun. And for me, I like to ride the bikes, of course, number one. I really, because of my time windows that are available and from my family, I usually wind up riding alone 90% of the time. But the time I go on group rides, I really always want to see the guy behind me, especially if I'm leading a ride. And I really not crazy about riding with people that take off like a jet plane. And because here's the other part of it that's bad. If they go off a cliff, you're not going to see them either. So the whole safety thing of riding as a group is gone. Either way, you lose. And I don't know if that information is good, and I'm sure a lot of people don't agree with it. The guys among us that are younger and tougher and less experienced, they're probably saying, these old geezers, what do they know about motorcycles? And maybe they're right. But anyway, I hope you did enjoy the video. I enjoy making them, editing them, and sharing them, and hope you enjoy it. We post something up every day, and obviously we'd like to see you tomorrow.